tonight, the next episode of Ahsoka airs. A new round of disappointment. No, I'm just kidding. No, look, I didn't love episode 1 and 2, but I did like them. I liked it. It's just that my anticipation has been, and my expectations have been pretty damn high for it. And I was a little bit let down by it, but it had promise. It had promise. What's really interesting, though, is that numbers are now coming out that suggest that Ahsoka actually launched with the same viewership as Andor did, but significantly less than Mandalorian Season 3 debuted with, and a lot less than Obi-Wan. This comes to us from Deadline, who write the following. Samba TV reports that the live +5 day viewership for the first episode of Disney Plus Lucasfilm's new series Ahsoka drew 1.2 million households. Disney Plus dropped the first 2 episodes of the Dave Filoni created series on Tuesday, August 22nd. The second episode clocked 956,000 U.S. households. Ahsoka is a live-action sequel. We all know what it is. And then they go on and say this. Ahsoka's first episode ratings are even with the first episode of the Tony Gilroy created Star Wars series Andor, which was panned by a lot of people as being a flop, which I never understood why. By the way, best thing Star Wars has created since the original trilogy is that Andor series. Anyway, which also pulled in 1.2 million households over its live +5 day. Andor debuted on Disney Plus on September 21st, 2022. However, the ratings for Ahsoka Episode 1, Master and Apprentice, are down by 50% from the live +5 day of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which dropped on May 27th, 2022. With that Jedi Force pulling in 2.4 million households. Ahsoka Episode 1 is also down from the first episode of Season 3 of The Mandalorian by 29%, with that series from Filoni and John Favreau earning 1.7 million U.S. households in its L +5D. The Mandalorian Season 3 began streaming on March 1st. All right, now, on the heels of that, half a day after Deadline put out that report, Disney put out a press release saying that the first episodes of Ahsoka drew 15 million views. And that was the headline. I won't forget this. I got the email from their PR department. Says Ahsoka draws 15 million views. And then the very first line of the email is Ahsoka drew 14 million views on its first. It's like, well, is it 15 or 14? Yeah. Then about an hour later, they put out a correction, 14 million views. Now, Samba, everybody has their metrics different. Samba says 1.2 million households. Disney called it views, but Disney calculates views. Remember, all these streamers have their own weird little machinations of how they define a view. You know, as long as somebody watches the first 7 minutes, it's the total minutes divided by the time viewed. And everybody's got their own little kind of weird way of accumulating these things. But the bottom line is that Deadline says it basically drew as many households, because they go by households. How they calculate that, I'm not sure. But Deadline is saying that same amount of households as Andor did, which is one of the lower viewed shows that they've had, even though it's the best, by far the best. And this came in. So here's my question. Is this 50% drop from Obi-Wan, this almost 30% drop from Mandalorian Season 3's opening, which, by the way, was already down from the previous seasons of Mandalorian? Remember, we talked about that when it came out. Is Ahsoka's relative low number really nothing to do with Ahsoka, but really have more to do with the fact that everybody tuned into Obi-Wan and didn't love it? And a lot of people watched Mandalorian Season 3 and didn't love it. Like, is Ahsoka's debut episodes paying the price for Obi-Wan, Book of Boba Fett, and Mandalorian Season 3? Like, now granted, there's still a lot of Star Wars fans who don't know who Ahsoka is. Yeah, I'm sure that has something to do with it. Sure. A lot of the casual fans may not know Ahsoka. Of course, they saw her pop up in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. I believe she also popped up in that. But other than that, may not know. So that might have a little bit to do with it. But I can't help but wonder especially with a lot of the hardcore fans loving this character, if the relative low viewership numbers, by the way, Disney is still saying that even with those numbers, it was the number one thing in the world on Disney Plus. Not the number one thing in the world, but the number one thing in the world on Disney Plus for that week, which I don't know what else would have gotten bigger numbers than it that week. People certainly weren't tuning in for their fourth viewing of Secret Invasion. So I can't help but wonder if this is Ahsoka, through no fault of its own, is just kind of paying the price for the questionable quality of the Star Wars stuff that we've had since Andor. I don't know. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, DraftKings. College football fans, are you ready for week one? DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking you up with a can't-miss offer to start the season strong. This week, new customers can bet just $5 on college football and score $200 in bonus bets instantly. Anything can happen in college football. Your team could go from unranked to dynasty mode in just a couple of years because change comes fast. The only thing that's a lock is the great offers from DraftKings Sportsbook. Life's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code Campea. New customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on college football. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code Campea. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See dkng.co/football for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Chris, you see these numbers. What stands out to you?
I do think a lot of it is because people are a bit disenfranchised with Star Wars, which is a shame because I think you should give every new bit of it a chance, right? Mm-hmm. We do it with Marvel movies. We do it with DC movies. Well, most of us do at least.
Yeah, haven't done it with DC in a while.
But, you should always go give it the good old college try and see if you're into what they're doing right now with Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And this is, in my opinion, so far a pretty well-executed show. I do think there are some issues, and I know that a lot of people on the internet are kind of having some issues with a few things here and there. It is disheartening when you Google it and you see Reddit forums, right, of does anyone else absolutely refuse to watch this show? Okay, go touch grass. Have a better day. It's okay. If you don't like something, that's fine. But other people can like it. Yep. So I think maybe it's just people not giving it a shot after not liking Obi-Wan and
By the way,
invested.
a big surprise that in this picture, Ahsoka has her arms crossed. Just throwing that out there. Okay, sorry, please continue.
So I think that's one thing. People got kind of burned by Obi-Wan. Not everyone maybe loved Andor, which I think that was a really well done show and a really interesting way to play within the Star Wars sandbox. And then I know some people have thought that some of the characterizations are just slightly off. But again, they're characters after a bunch of things have happened to them. It's called character development. Maybe we wait and see what happens. So those could be some things. And then obviously too, just the lack of promoting these shows. I think your average kind of television watcher, a lot of times they do get notified by, late night television shows and things like that. Oh yeah, Rosario Dawson was just on, The Late Show. I really should watch her new show. I think those are some things too that kind of affect it too. Because if you're not somebody who absolutely ravenously devours this kind of content, which let's be real, Star Wars is a very broad fandom now. That's why we do have so many people gatekeeping it, because there's only real fans and then those casuals, those filthy casuals on the outskirts who don't even know about Tashi Station.
What?
But
what is that?
I think your casual viewer maybe doesn't know that this is even happening really right now. I had people over this weekend who are absolutely part of this zeitgeist and went, oh, yeah, that's out, isn't it? I think that could do something with it.
So, strike could be affecting it as well.
Yeah.
At that point. So there could be a number
people picking and choosing which subscription plans they want and which ones they need to let go of, too.
Well,
that's another thing, too.
Hey, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.